The following podcast contains spoilers and words that my mother would prefer I did not say. We watch the thing. We watch the thing. Hello everybody and welcome back to We Watched a Thing for the Night of Nights. I am so lucky to be recapping this year's Oscars and then going over what I thought was going to be one of the big players with my favourite person and yours. It's from the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast. Paul, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great, mate. Thank you so much for having me back. And by favourite, of course, you mean the person who tanks all your ratings every episode. Great, good.
No, mate, no, you've redeemed yourself. It wasn't you, mate. It was the empty man. Nobody wanted to hear about the empty man.
The empty what? Who? Did we see that movie? I forgot.
Nah, I thought I could boost its ratings by sneaking Tommy Boy in there, but nah. Who'd have thunk it?
Tommy Boy? No.
Yeah.
Delete.
How you been anyway, buddy?
Oh, look, not too bad. Not too bad. All things considered, it was an interesting lead up for me into the Oscars, I have to say. This might be the year I've seen the least number of nominees since we started podcasting.
Same, yeah.
I found them very middle of the road. It wasn't like anything except obviously West Side Story offended me because it's a musical. But
did you actually even watch that? Or no, I didn't think so.
Not at all. But I realised with like 2 weeks ago, I've only seen like 2 of these things. I got to make some kind of effort here. I think I ended up seeing half of the 10 nominated for Best Picture.
I was exactly the same. Prior to last week, I'd only seen 4 of them. And that was when I messaged you and said, look, I feel like I should do a couple more. Power of the Dog looks like it's going to win. So would you mind doing that on the show with me? Of course, now I feel like, what's the point?
It didn't.
Yeah.
And for the record, Coda, I liked a lot more than The Power of the Dog. Just get that out there now.
I mean, what would have been your pick for Best Picture if this was the Paulies?
Look, I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve's Dune, I have to say. And look, it swept all the technical awards, took out 6 of them. I think it took out everything it was nominated in, except screenplay from memory. So it did very, very well.
Completely bizarre year, yeah. So Dune took out the most awards with 6.
Mm-hmm.
Coda was second with 3. Then you've got Eyes of Tammy Faye with 2, and every single other motherfucker got 1 award. It's the strangest split year. Apparently, this is the first time in 60 years that a film has won nothing other than Best Director.
Right, and I also read that it was the first time a film that had been nominated for Coda that with the less than 4 noms won Best Picture since 1932.
Yeah, right. It is strange, isn't it? I don't think anybody really saw that coming.
Well, I got the sense, if I'm really honest here, because knowing we were going to record tonight, I was like, well, let's do my tips and we'll get to that, I'm sure. And I was sitting there and I hesitated over adapted screenplay because on our show where we recorded 9 days ago, I'm like, Power of the Dog's going to win, no problem at all. But all the narrative between basically that recording and the Night of Nights was Coda. Everything was, Russia-Ukraine conflict and this and that. People just looking for a feel-good film.
Yeah.
Coda is that. Power of the Dog is not.
It's not at all. It's really not. Yeah, there was a real flip there. And I don't know if maybe some of it had to do with the backlash against Campion as well. But there was
Williams sisters quote comment. Yeah.
Yes. But there was a real late turn. And Coda came out a very long time ago. I would love to see some stats on the last time a movie that came out that early in the year ended up winning. Because, typically it's your kind of very late in the year, like December, January releases that
tend to win.
So it was an interesting year for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting that you put it like that because my wife and I watched it just last week, I think on Thursday night. So we saw it 3 days before, really enjoyed it. It's borderline musical, but I got past that. And it ended up ranking second for me behind Dune as in terms of the 5 that I saw. Yeah. So, a good film. I'm glad it won.
That's good. What was your least favourite of the 5 that you ended up seeing?
Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm spoiling a little bit here, but so I saw... maybe Don't Look Up. Didn't have a lot of time. I know you were a big fan, Don't Look Up. So
I was, yeah.
I thought it was a bit of a one-trick pony and it really battered that drum into the ground. The Power of the Dog, if nothing else, well, no, I'll save it. But anyway, slightly above Drive, Don't Look Up, then King Richard, then Dune, and then Coda, then Dune for me. But I totally understand why Dune couldn't win. It's not Return of the King. We don't have a part 2 yet. But geez, next year, so 2024 Oscars, if the second part of Dune is anywhere near the quality of level that the first part is and it maintains the goodwill, I don't know if you can find a betting agency now, but it might be worth putting $5 on it.
Yeah, there's a bit of a narrative that, that they are saving it for part 2. Which I don't even know if that holds up, given that Dune did win the most of the night. But,
yeah, true.
I mean, fuck me, it's a shock and kind of appalling that Villeneuve wasn't up.
It's a huge snub. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they can get past that. I like to say I was seriously contemplating changing my tip to Coda, but because on our show I said Power of the Dog, I just had to roll with that. So I got both the screenplay noms wrong, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, so let's get into it then. How did you do on the tipping out of 23?
17.
Well, you did better than me. I ended up with only 15.
I've seen a few people online. Lots of people. The ones that always bring you unstuck, right, are the shorts.
Yeah, I got both of them wrong. Yeah,
I got animated short wrong. I got documentary short wrong. I did get live action short right, but that's more just through reading 3 websites that agreed. So I'm not pretending like I've seen them.
Yeah,
I got production design wrong. I just thought Nightmare Alley was such a beautiful production design. I thought, well, it has to win something, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I was exactly the same. I really thought that that's where that would get an award. And I thought that Licorice Pizza would get screenplay.
That was what I picked as well for original screenplay. And I picked Power of the Dog for adapted. So I got both the screenplay wrong. And of course, I got Best Picture wrong. So that were my 6 I misfired on. Some of them seemed to be walk-up obvious choices, particularly the main acting. Or I think the only acting one was probably Troy Kotzer for Coda, was a little bit up in the air.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that he won because he was very good.
Yeah. Well, let's get straight into it then. Did you watch the ceremony live or nah?
No, I didn't. I was at work. But geez, did I watch the moment that will forever be remembered in Oscars history? But before we get to that, Billy, tell me, you watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
They cut away. The big question I have is, so they decide we're getting rid of these, was it 6 technical awards?
8. 8 awards they did beforehand during the red carpet. It only took 35 minutes, and
then they kept cutting back to it, from what I understand, and inserting those awards in.
So
and they said this will be a tight 3 hours. Was it?
Yeah. No, this was actually longer than last year, which is my biggest. It's the thing that pisses me off most about the night is that I just feel like the Oscars doesn't understand their audience. Like, why are we having fan favorite awards where we're showing clips of Army of the Dead, one of the worst films of the year? Like, firstly, who the fuck are the people voting on this?
Right. When this episode tanks, it's not my fault anymore.
It's because I besmirched Snyder's good name.
That is exactly the reason.
Yeah, I don't understand the reasoning for any of the changes they made. And so, they held these 8 awards during the red carpet. So there was no actual audience in the room, bar a few people. I understand that Chastain made the choice to sit in during those awards. Guillermo del Toro was there and he was live tweeting it. So when they played these awards in during the ceremony, they edited in the crowd from the night, though, so it looked like there was a crowd there.
For God's sake.
Come on. I just didn't understand the reasoning for it because they're shaving off mere seconds. I don't know if they're cutting down these people's speeches or not, but all they really cut out was their walk from the audience to the front, and they didn't have any live presenters beforehand either. It just went straight into the voiceover, nominated for. But you're talking about maybe 40 seconds that you're saving. I just didn't understand
Times 8. So therefore, it's 320 seconds, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Given that it went from supposedly being a tight 3 hours to being, I'm not sure exactly what the final finish was.
Close to 4 hours.
Yeah,
it was
3 hours 45.
3 hours 45. Yeah.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
And it checks you out of, I didn't watch it, but arguably one of the best things about the Oscars is that bit where they have all the nominees on the screen.
Yes.
Someone wins, and then just for 3 or 4 seconds they hold so you can see the reactions of everybody else.
Yeah.
Did they do that this year?
No. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And
why are we even bothering?
And here's the really shitty thing about it. The biggest film of the year was Dune, right? 6 awards. I think it was 4 of these 6 awards were not live. So, for example, Hans Zimmer didn't even bother showing up because why would you? If you're being presented not really even during the ceremony, why would you bother?
Yeah, well, I agree. He's too busy writing his next amazing score. So,
yeah, exactly. So you're cutting out 4 of the live presentations from the biggest film of the year. I just don't understand the reasoning behind it.
The most awarded film of the year in people's minds will be a blip on the radar. They will pick up the cover of, well, they won't because it's not physical DVDs and 4Ks and Blu-rays anymore, but they'll see winner of 6 Academy Awards and they'll go, shit, really?
Yeah.
That's 6 times as many as Suicide Squad.
And now the question is, does Army of the Dead count as an Oscar-winning film?
No.
Is fan favorite a real category?
Winner of the Academy Award nominated for fan favorite, i.e. your massive fans got online and hit vote 27 times from their 27 different email addresses.
Yeah, I know. You knew that it was a complete rort when they also, for some fucking this is the thing I don't understand. They're trying to shave time, supposedly, but the amount of crap they added in, you know, like, so they had the fan favorite film. They also had fan cheer-worthy moment, which for some reason went to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
For some reason, because the same 27 email addresses from each one of Zack Snyder's fans were going, pound, 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 submit.
Yeah, you know, it's not a secret that I'm not a giant Bond fan. I don't think we needed, you know, several minutes of Bond retrospective. Like, if you're going to if you're going to do that, tie it in to Billie Eilish's performance. You know that she's performing the Bond song for this year, but instead they added in this whole just playing clips from previous Bond films.
Why?
50th anniversary. Why? Exactly.
Oh, because the 50th anniversary.
50th anniversary. But, I mean, do we get the 50th anniversary
in, like, 2034 of A Nightmare on Elm Street?
I mean, that'd be cool. That'd be pretty cool.
We could just get, like, the best kills and just play them up on screen. That'd be awesome.
But it was weird. They did keep doing this. You know, like we had a Juno reunion because it was the 16th or something anniversary of that winning Best Screenplay.
I heard Woody Harrelson got up there to present something or other, and his gag was, which sounded pretty funny on the blog I was following as the day wore on, where he's like, you know, I've been nominated 3 times. I've got to say more words as a presenter. Yeah. Or whatever he said.
Yeah. Yeah. Just insanity. Pure insanity.
So, what did you think of the hosts?
I will actually say I might be one of the few people in the world who likes Amy Schumer. I think that Amy Schumer is actually pretty funny.
Right. And I'm stunned.
And I went in actually not knowing there were hosts. I had done, you know, good movie podcaster I am. I'd done zero research. I didn't know that there were going to be hosts.
At least you watched the damn thing. I'm talking about it. See it.
So, you know, I thought that the hosting started off okay. The opening monologue had me laughing. There were some good jokes in there. It wasn't overstaying its welcome. From that point onwards, it completely lost me, and we didn't need to cut back to them beyond the introduction, really.
I saw read about a bit where Amy Schumer went into the audience talking about seat fillers, grabbed Kirsten
that was
Dunst.
crap.
Yeah, okay. And then just moved her out the way, and I saw a shot of her standing behind awkwardly like, what the fuck do I do now? Which seems very odd. And
Jesse Plemons seemed genuinely upset. He honestly, he might have been close to slapping her.
Well... Was that before or after the infamous slap?
It was after the slap.
Right. So he would have
and
thought,
let me tell you,
I can't do that.
The slap.
It's already been done.
Yeah. Let me tell you, after the slap, it must have been almost impossible for that room to regain any energy that it once had.
Right. Well, we've talked around it quite successfly for about 10 minutes, Billy. It's time.
Yeah. Let's get to it. So you ended up, what is the slap all that you've seen from the ceremony?
I watched Coda's Best Picture Acceptance Awards, a speech by the 2 producers. I always think it's funny, can I just say? I think it's funny that Best Picture winner, the director does not speak.
Yeah, I know. It goes to the producers.
What is going on?
Yeah.
Surely we can add an extra 90 seconds for the person who directed this film to have their say as well. They might not have won Best Director, but they directed the Best Picture of the year, according to the Academy. Give them some airtime, please. But anyway,
I know, right? Yeah, it's bizarre.
I saw that. I did see Will Smith's acceptance speech. So I watched a lot of these things on sort of Twitter afterwards.
Yeah.
Including this moment. But I wasn't there live, so talk me through it.
Okay, so when you saw the moment, did you see the uncensored version, or did you see what went to air in the States where they had cut out the sound?
No, I saw the cut out sound bit.
Right, because the most bizarre thing, our feed here in Australia, they didn't cut it.
Yeah,
completely uncut.
I saw that later on Twitter.
Yeah.
But at the time on the day, because my instant response, honestly, this is a setup.
That's what I thought.
Because the way he walked up there and the way that Chris Rock leaned into it with a big grin on his face and it's almost like a stage punch or a wrestling punch. I know it was a slap, but anyway, where you slam your foot on the floor to make the noise. That all happened.
Yeah.
And I was 100% convinced until the sound cut out, and I later read, because he's saying, get my wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
Yes, and it was the most aggressive thing. It was so uncomfortable. Like, I wasn't there in the room, obviously, but even just as a viewer on screen, my heart was racing. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm watching something that I shouldn't be seeing. Like, it felt like when you're a kid and you're sneaking SBS. Like, it was just like, wow, I shouldn't be seeing this. Because I had the group chat going with Topher and Sam Hurley from Movie Reviews and 20 Qs. We were all messaging each other, and all three of us at the same time were like, what the fuck just happened? It was the most bizarre thing. And when the slap first happened, and honestly, I thought it was a punch. Like, I've seen it slow-mo now, and it is clearly a slap. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it looked hard, and you could hear it. And I felt so bad for Chris Rock because he just looked completely shook by it. He didn't know what had happened.
Well, if I may, and I'm very aware of, there's a lot going on here, and I'm not going to try and take sides, whatever. But I will say this: if someone slapped me like that, there's no way I would have just taken it with the grace.
No.
And how impressively Chris Rock responded. He just literally took it on the chin.
Yeah.
And then soldiered on as best he could. Like, clearly he was shaken. Yeah. Whatever else. Who wouldn't be, for God's sake?
Yeah.
In that particular context. Anyone slaps you. If you're in the middle of a dark street, you have an altercation, or they slap you, there's moments of like, whoa, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
But he responded like a true champ. Like, he just maintained his professionalism.
Yeah.
Got through his bit. Yes, he was shaking. Yes, he was stuttering. And got off that stage.
Yeah.
Full credit to him. Because what does this imply? If someone says a joke that I don't like about me or mine,
I know. Yeah.
I'm now allowed to get up there and physically engage with that person. I just think all the rules were broken on that basis.
I agree. And that's the thing. Like, Sam and Topher and I were messaging each other like, surely he has to get kicked out, right? Like, he has to get kicked out of the room after that.
Well, I would have thought they would have said you're off. But of course, because 20 minutes later he wins Best Actor, they couldn't do that, right?
See, I don't know, man, because that is what shocked me the most. Like, the slap was one thing, but when he got up and got claps instead of boos, I was like, wow, really? Like, we're going to give this guy a standing ovation after what he just did? Like, are we really just moving on from this and this is an okay thing to do? Like,
on the biggest night in Hollywood for the year. This is not at the MTV Awards where this kind of, risque bullshit may have flown. Yeah. This is at the Academy Awards. And there was no sanction. His apology up there was, I'm sorry, I fucked up the night. I mean, I'm obviously paraphrasing here. Please forgive me. Please have me back. Really sorry, Academy. No mention of Chris Rock.
No. That was not an apology at all. That was the incoherent ramblings of a madman. Like, that was Kanye level. I was expecting him to say he was going to run for president. Like, honestly, to excuse what you've done as like an act of love, like, it's just not on for me.
Yeah, look, so I love my family a lot, and so I shot 19 people and took their money, but I love them. Hey, again, I'm exaggerating.
Well, love makes you do crazy things.
Yeah, I mean, just illustrating a point. Obviously, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
But, the fact that no one in the room, or very few people in the room, seemed to be shocked, stunned. Oh, they were shocked, but seemed to be, criticizing that at the time.
Yeah.
Even the Academy didn't criticize it. They've later come on and said, we abhor violence of all, blah, 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 blah. And Will Smith / his people have seen the writing on the wall and they've gone, you need to fucking apologize and apologize fast, or you could lose that statue.
Yes.
But he won't now because he put up an insincere bullshit apology to Chris Rock.
Yeah, definitely. It was a strange moment. Like this year's Oscars, I think, will go down in memory as one of the worst Oscars of all time for many, many reasons.
Has it, in your mind, superseded the great Moonlight / La La Land?
Oh, absolutely.
Cocker.
People won't. I mean, yeah, people won't remember that anymore. Yeah.
It's amazing to me. What the really sad thing is, and let's be very clear here, it's that Coda has been overshadowed by this moment.
It's been tainted. Exactly. Yeah.
Coda,
all of the winners have been.
Yeah, all of them. Everyone. I think the individual statues to individual actors and whatever. I think that shit. Sorry, you know what I mean. That award holds water. Like Academy Award winner Jessica Chastain. Academy Award winner Troy Kotzer, all the rest of that stuff. I think that stuff's fine. But when people go, oh yeah, Coda won Best Picture, they're going to go, oh, that was the year that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, right?
Yeah. That's a real shame.
Tragedy.
Because, people like you and me who are the Oscars core audience, people who actually are there for film and the love of film, this year's Oscars just had zero respect for that, I think. Like from the very first move of shifting those 8 awards to not being part of the ceremony, right through to, now it being completely overshadowed by this slap. No one's talking about the movies at all.
That's the absolutely real shame. Can I just say also very, very quickly that I understand when someone attacks your partner, you want to be defensive. So I totally get that Will Smith was angry. And I totally get he went, I'm not driving home in the car with what I just did there. Because his initial reaction was laughing. He was still laughing at the last joke or that joke. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But obviously there are better ways to do it. And I think Addy got up there in his speech later on and just said,
exactly.
Geez, Chris Rock, that was fucking below the belt. She's got a medical condition. Let's not be doing that shit, eh? Right?
Yeah. There's a million ways to deal with it.
How much respect would he have won at that point?
Exactly.
On top of his speech. So, it was a really poor moment.
I agree. Because, he could have turned that into a really good PR move by doing something like what you're suggesting. But, for me, the worst part isn't even that he did it. Like, that's, that's fine. It's done. It's the complete kind of approval of it by everybody in the room.
I agree.
To just move past it and just...
Yep. Yeah, it's tacit approval of what's taken place. Yeah. He's jumping around and dancing later on. Again, had this been settled out of the way it should have been, maybe behind closed doors, man-on-man discussion, which ended in whatever way, that's all fine. I understand his need or not need, appropriate to protect the people that you love. I get that.
Yeah. Before we move on from the Oscars itself, were there any other awards that really surprised you or anything that you were really happy that got up that you maybe weren't actually expecting it to?
Look, I'll tell you one that disappointed me. Encanto winning Best Animated Film.
Instead of Mitchell's vs. the Machines?
Yeah. Which one pushes the envelope? Which film is going to be memorable 10 years from now versus another straightforward Disney-esque musical-infused... sure, I'm glad that it shone the light on Latin American community. That's excellent. But the actual film itself is pretty fucking bog standard. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cookie-cutter Disney film.
Yep.
Like, there's nothing bad about it. It's a fun watch. I've seen it several times. I've got kids under the age of 8.
Sorry. Very sorry.
But, I completely agree with you. I
was hoping against hope that, because that pushes the envelope. You're the visual effects artist guy, Billy. I'm just the person who sits at home and watches these things. But the one that stuck out to me that very nearly made my top 10 films of the year list, Mitchell's vs. the Machine.
Yeah.
So memorable, so interesting, so doing so much with and yet not acknowledged or awarded.
Yeah.
And, a shame.
It is a shame. It's a real shame. Well, shall we move on to happier things with the power of the dog?
We should, sir, please.
So, as mentioned, when I messaged you about this at first and said, look, would you come on and do an Oscars recap with me? And, let's talk about one of the big winners. Let's do Power of the Dog. At that point, this movie, I think, had the most nominations. It had 13 or something. 12.
Yep.
And everybody thought that this was pegged to win Best Picture. I used to, on our show, when we did our Oscars predictions, I used to look up the betting odds just because I thought it was a fun thing to talk about on the show. Topher stopped letting me do that because it meant that he wasn't allowed to enter his family's tipping pool.
What? So they listened to the show. Well, first of all, hooray for Topher's family for listening to a podcaster.
So I haven't done that in a while, but I did this year look up the betting odds, and Power of the Dog was so far ahead of everything else in the Best Picture race that
Even after Parasite last year, okay? Oh, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was so far ahead that I was so sure it was going to win, but it didn't.
Here we are. You know what? We could contrast every point we make about Power of the Dog with Coda if you want to.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Then you can go, and then we'll talk about Tommy Boy at the end.
But I do still think it's interesting, given that, like I said, this is the first film in 55 years to win only Best Director and nothing else after The Graduate, which I actually love The Graduate, personally. But
directed by Mike Nichols.
Yeah.
There you go. So very exclusive club that Jane Campion has moved into.
Yes. I think she's also the first woman to be nominated twice for Best Director.
She is behind the piano. Obviously, she didn't win that, despite a couple of articles I read saying she's the second time she's won. No,
she
Spielberg won for Schindler's List that year.
Yes, as he should have, just quietly. Like, Schindler's List is a fucking phenomenal film.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
All right. But Power of the Dog.
Power of the Dog. So let's get straight into it. Did you like this film?
I liked it from a technical perspective. Did not like it narratively or plot-wise, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, the way I would describe it is I think that there is a lot to like about this film, but it is not a film that I like.
There you go. Perfect. I'm glad, because I thought maybe you'd come in here and just go, what a beautiful, amazing, incredible film. I'd be like, oh, I'm such a Philistine.
Just not for me. Like, I can appreciate what it's doing, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's get into it. Power of the Dog is a 2021 Western psychological drama film written and directed by Jane Campion. It's based on Thomas Savage's 1967 novel of the same name, and it stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, and Kodi Smit-McPhee. And what is it about, Paul?
First of all, very pleased to hear you get the Kristen thing wrong. I do that all the time. I had an ex-girlfriend whose middle name was, I can't even tell you if it was Kirsty or Christy. I still get it wrong to this day.
At least this film doesn't have Joaquin Phoenix in it.
Joaquin! What's it about? It is about a cattle horse dude who decides to marry this poor ne'er-do-well woman and take her and her son in, and they run afoul, therefore, of his brother who likes running a very tight ship in a way that he wants it run.
Yep.
Is that good enough?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Do you want to know how many times someone shoots someone else in this film, Billy? And listener?
How many?
0. Why is this called a Western? I do not know.
I was just going to ask you that. Is this a Western? Because obviously Sam Elliott came out slamming the film saying, look, it's not a Western.
Sam Elliott's reasons for calling it not a Western, I do not agree with whatsoever. I think I'm very, very pleased that we get to see maybe a different side of, is it 1920s?
Yeah, it's 1925, or 24, yeah.
So, I mean, that's probably post what we would all consider to be Western, right? Like 1890s, 1880s is 1870s is what I think of when I think of Western, and that's a long time between drinks. But yeah, Sam Elliott, come on, mate, read the room / time. Yeah. We've moved on and everything's okay. And there were gay people back in 1925. You fucking idiot.
Definitely. Yeah. Look, and that's one aspect of the film I actually like. I like the perspective of this film, and I really like Kirsten Dunst in this film. The problem is that the reality is this film is about Benedict Cumberbatch's Phil, and he's just such a fucking cunt that I can't enjoy this movie.
For the record, Billy used the word before Paul did on this podcast.
I'm a bleep it though, so it's okay.
All right, in that case. But you won't bleep words, so everyone will know what we said.
Yeah.
Good. Look, it's just incredibly boring. This film is so slow. And here's what I went into with this film. I don't know where I got this. It's clearly my problem. And I reflected on this and watching, because I want to talk about this on your show, we all go in with expectations in a film, right? And an Oscar critical darling that's the raging favourite by the time I got round to watch it, I knew it wasn't going to be an action extravaganza or a tight, taut thriller, the things that I'll normally gravitate towards, and certainly, obviously, not a horror film. But I was expecting there to be a bit more substance than just beautiful. Admittedly, the cinematography in this film, I can't remember who it's by. It's an Australian woman, I think.
Ari Wegner.
Yeah. She has done such a superlative job. Jane Campion, obviously, overseeing this superlative job. But the script itself, and I have to assume it's just based on the book, and fine, that there's a market for this. It is slow. It is boring. Almost nothing happens, and then it all happens in a rush in the last 10 minutes. And I was literally left going, did I interpret that correctly? The fuck?
That's my thing. I actually personally really enjoy a character study. I don't mind films where nothing really happens. Like, I'm okay with just a slow burn. My problem is that I kind of feel like it doesn't amount to anything. This isn't a film about growth. For example, no one really changes from the start of the film to the end. It's just so bleak for me that I just found nothing to grip onto. I didn't particularly care about any of the characters. I didn't really want any of them to get out of the situations that they're in, other than, you feel bad for Kirsten Dunst, but I mean...
What situations were they in? She had to play a piano piece. Yeah. Her son had to come back and live on this really expensive, much better ranch than he was used to living on. I'm like, there's an uncle who's a prick. Oh, well, Jesus Christ.
I mean, we've all had
what you were dealing with before. Yeah, well, believe it. Yes, 100%. Compared to what you were dealing with before, like, surely this is a step up. What are we whinging about? Jesse Plemons has got a much more attractive, younger, presumably, wife than what he probably would have gotten otherwise. And the only guy who's really put out is Phil. And Phil, you were never going to be happy about anything, mate. So you're fucked.
He's just a bad guy.
Yep. But even Phil, interestingly, I think, and this is perhaps the most meaty / best part of the film. Phil decides to get close to, I've forgotten Kirsten Dunst's
Peter,
Kodi Smit-McPhee's character, to piss her off. But then I think he develops a genuine affection for him, and that was interesting. And I thought the film was going in this very questionable sexual kind of way. That's why he was interested, but it's not. It's not at all. He just has a genuine fatherly kind of affection for him, wants the best for him, wants to show him how to survive in the West. And then we get the ending that we get. And that's kind of tragic that the first time Phil opens up to someone and really tries to help him out,
they kill him.
Yep.
I agree with you. I think that the problem for me is the pacing. Everything happens in the last 10 minutes of this film. In terms of the actual narrative and moving things forward, it's just the last 10 minutes. And before that, it's just kind of stuff happening. And so I just didn't buy that turn. Like, I mean, Phil's turn to being kind of fatherly, yes, it's driven by basically wanting to be a prick to Kirsten Dunst, but it still happens so suddenly that it just doesn't feel natural.
Well, you're right, because the entire time I was going, what's his end game beyond that? What's the point here? And that's why I thought maybe, given that we have established he's gay, that, we heavily imply he's gay. Yeah. Is that where it's angling towards? And so the film didn't do a good enough job with that transition, I agree. Like, had it been a little bit more inbuilt, not that the film needed to be any bloody longer, I'm not trying to imply that, then maybe that would have worked better for me. But it all, then suddenly I get that Peter is a very whipped, don't look at me type guy. But just his movement from being, I am subjugated and unhappy in my life and I'm worried about my mum, to murderer is so fast.
Yeah. You know what's crazy though? This is not a long film. This, of the 10 nominated films, this is actually the third shortest.
Ooh, what's shorter?
So obviously Drive My Car is
the longest.
The longest. That's 3 hours. Dune, very long.
2.5, yeah.
I forget what the ones that are shorter than this are, but this is only just over 2 hours. This is like 2 hours, 8 minutes or something.
Right, yeah. King Richard is also longer than that. Pretty sure it's 2 hours, 20.
But it just doesn't feel it. This feels long to me.
Does it? It took me 3 watches, Billy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying before, I went in thinking I had read somewhere or got it in my mind that Jesse Plemons' character dies.
Yeah, okay.
Early in the film. And so it becomes this back and forth machinations for power was my assumption between Benedict Cumberbatch's character and Kirsten Dunst's character.
Yep.
That never eventuated. I did, but in a much more subtle way. So I was genuinely shocked when at the end of the film, Jesse Plemons is sitting there going, but he was always so careful around cattle.
There are some things I like about the film. I think the cast are excellent.
They're all very good. Yeah, 100%.
Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst have such great chemistry, and I can only think that Jane Campion must be a fan of Fargo because
they're not married in real life, are they?
They are. They have 2 kids.
They are married.
Yeah,
that's why. Because I thought when back to the Oscars just for a moment, when Amy Schumer came over and he said, "That's my wife," I thought he was referring to The Power of the Dog.
No, they are, and I think they have such great chemistry, and it's actually a shame that for me Jesse Plemons isn't really in this film that much. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is good, but I'm going to be honest, I'm just not a fan of Benedict Cumberbatch in general. I just don't often find him.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Is this going into your... I can't remember who do you hate? Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett? Very similar to Kate Blanchett. Very similar to Tom Hanks. I think they're fine. They do their job well. There's something about them I don't like.
I know this is a more innocuous episode of We Watch the Thing, but if you count up the B-Dizzle fucking controversial moments, they're really mounting at this point in time.
Yeah, just not a fan of Cumberbatch in general. There's something about his face that I just don't like.
Sorry, Wayne. That's great to hear from you here on the podcast.
You are a Cumberbatch fan, I take it?
Oh, look, I'm fine with him. He's not my favourite, but I don't look for reasons to hate him when I see him in a film.
Don't like his face.
I certainly like Kate Blanchett more, so you've lost me on that one.
Yeah, not a Blanchett fan.
It's all right. We'll not that I'm pretending like I like everybody. If we can just put Anne Hathaway. Kate Blanchett is, to me, Anne Hathaway. You know what I mean?
I love Anne Hathaway. Just today I was recording a podcast with my wife and I dropped in the old, Anne Hathaway is the every woman, just because she hates when I say that.
Every woman as in she's so incredibly overrated and shit house and should not be in films. I agree.
No, mate, no. And I do think, as you said, the cinematography in this film is beautiful. It's a very nice looking film that is very well put together. Jane Campion knows what she's doing. I just didn't connect with it.
Yeah, it was all... Look, it was so... If I use to describe language... Slow. Holy shit, finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not... I guess that's what the film was going for, but unlike... I don't know, I guess if it had the slow part been a lot more atmospheric or a lot more tense, then it would have worked.
Yeah.
But it just didn't for me in that regard. The score, I think, is very, very good. It's discordant and very off-putting and offsetting. Is it Johnny Greenwood?
Johnny Greenwood, yeah. I was actually just going to ask you that because I know that you're the score guy. You're a big score fan, as am I. I thought the score for this film was good, but it was one of the things that... Because I only watched this last night after the Oscars.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I had heard so much talk about this score. I think it was just overhyped for me that I just didn't love it. I thought it worked for what it was doing. It's certainly not memorable. I didn't really connect with it that much.
I get what you're saying. I'm not sure. It's certainly not the kind of score I would download and listen to. Do you know what I mean? To evoke that film or because it really struck a chord with me if the film did not. But I think it serves a purpose, which is to add to the unsettling nature of what you're seeing.
I get that, yeah. To me, the best scene in the film is Cumberbatch's aggressive banjo playing. When
she's trying to play the piano?
Yes, and he comes out
100%.
Easily the most tense scene in the film and just... the almost vacant expression on his face of just nothing. He's almost not even feeling. He is just being a prick. That is so far and away the best scene in the film for me, and there's just nothing else that matches that.
It's really subtle, and that kind of thing I think would have worked more so, but it's a lot of, I don't know, building up to that as a big moment when it's shouldn't be a big moment. It should be,
Yes.
I think, like a supportive moment of the bigger moments that weren't there.
Yeah, well, that's true. And I think for me, that's one of my big problems with the film is that for me, it's funny. Even though this is such a slow, quiet film, I actually feel like it's almost doing too much at times. Like, I don't think we need 100 occurrences of Cumberbatch calling Plemons fatso. Like, I just think that there are more subtle ways to do
75 would have been enough.
Yeah. And I think that this film, for what it is and for what it's doing, actually really lacks subtlety, which that should be this film's calling card. This film should be a quiet, meditative character study, but it is so in your face with how much of a prick he is that for me it loses almost all impact because it's almost cartoonish. He's almost like, what's his name? The Dagwoodly dog. Like, he's just this over-the-top, like, Western villain that I just don't care about anything else.
If he had a mustache, or did he have a mustache? I can't remember.
I think he did, yeah.
A very light mustache because it's Benedict Cumberbatch and he doesn't do facial hair like the rest of us. He would be twirling it left, right and centre. I would agree.
Yeah.
I wish, though, that on top of everything you just said there, that Phil had a shot some motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Just a couple of cattle rustlers that had come along and he just dispatched them ruthlessly in front of Pete or some shit like that. That might have just evened out the boredom just a little bit more. I have to admit, it really shocked me to learn after the fact, where I finally finished this, because at least you watched it in one night, that this film was shot in New Zealand.
Yes, it was.
Jane Campion's home. I thought never at one stage did I believe it was not in the West, the Wild West, as it were. So, and also Thomasin McKenzie in this film in a thankless role where you blink and you miss her as the servant really shocked me as well, I have to say.
I was going to say I missed her because I did read her name in the cast list before I watched it, and then I didn't remember seeing her, and it made me sad because I actually really like Thomasin McKenzie.
Yeah, it's stunning. The star of Last Night in Soho and a big part of
Old,
and Jojo Rabbit. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Look, okay. I guess I'm ready to give it a score. It's gone down, Billy. It's gone down when we're talking. maybe because it didn't win the best picture. I've given it the best picture, not winner. Negative influence.
Yep. How are you scoring it?
5 out of 10.
5. Yeah. Okay. I'm a 6. I still think that there is good things about this film. I think it's very competently made. I really like Jane Campion, and even though I personally think that Dune was the best directed film of the year, and I think it's a complete crime that Villeneuve wasn't at least nominated. I'm happy that Campion won, if for nothing else, that we need more females winning that award.
Yep. Was it who directed Coda? Is it Shan or San?
Yeah.
I get why they went, well, and I don't, we hear this a lot, like this narrative of, well, it's not going to win anything else, so they give it the acknowledging award of best adapted screenplay or best original screenplay for Pulp Fiction in that particular year, in a stacked year or whatever else. But that doesn't make any sense to me when there's 2,000, whatever there are, number of Academy members and voters. They don't get together and have a big decision about this, do they?
Well, I don't know. That's kind of what the narrative implies, that the Oscars are so rigged that, all the voters know.
Well, QT is pretty good, but he's not going to win Best Picture because he's a young upstart, right? Yeah. Well, what if we gave him, like, original script? Yeah. All those say aye.
Yeah, there's definitely that narrative about the Oscars. And does the year that Shakespeare in Love won everything?
Fuck off.
Does that
don't bring it up, Billy?
I don't know, man. I don't know. How much of it is just predetermined?
Well, I know the studio spent a lot of money marketing, and I know that Netflix right now are going to be really hurting because they've had so many Best Picture nominees in the last 3 or 4 years. Never won a fucking thing. Apple TV gets one nomination and wins.
Yes, so this is... I was just reading today, actually. For the past 3 years, the 3 big Netflix Oscar pushers. You've got Power of the Dog, Mank, The Irishman.
Roma before that.
Yeah, and Roma before that. All 4 of those, I believe you've got 43 or something nominations, and I think it's 6 wins.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, I haven't looked at the stats for other studios. Maybe that's just how it plays out.
But for the course.
I don't know, man. Do you think that there is still a bias against Netflix, or do you think they're just going the wrong route, trying to go the Oscars.
I guess they've now proven with Coda winning that it's not a bias against streaming services.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
But can you rule out that it's a bias against Netflix as being the pioneer in the streaming service?
Well, yeah.
No.
One article I was reading today basically said that people still think of, people think of Apple TV as a symptom, but Netflix is the cause. and so, it's kind of okay to reward one, but not the other.
That's shitty. Come on. A film's a film. I don't get it.
I agree.
Whether it goes into cinemas or it goes onto streaming, or you see it around your mate's place on a bootleg DVD, does the film give you that pleasurable / remarkable, exhilarated, wow, what a movie? That's all that matters.
I mean, especially one thing that streaming does is it does. I don't think Power of the Dog would have been made if we were in the generation of having to be a cinema release. And I'm probably wrong there. I mean, hell, we've had movies like The English Patient, movies that are very slow and stuff. But in this day and age, I just think that a movie like this probably wouldn't be made if it weren't for streaming.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you could say that argument about 75% of films that are being released at this point in time.
Yeah.
If not for streaming.
Yeah,
this wouldn't be happening. I think streaming is the future. I hope that cinema remains to be the pinnacle, and that's where the big films, the cinematic films should go. But I still want to see those little, not backyard, but little local films that otherwise wouldn't see light of day.
Yeah, definitely. Where else are we going to see Reap? In fact, when are we going to see Reap? I need to see Reap. I demand to see Reap, in fact.
I tell you what, if Netflix buys the idea off me, then you can see Reap whenever you want. Although, given that they'll greenlight anything, maybe that's the way to go. Here's a story idea. Holy shit, here's $100,000. Done. I'm out.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, mate. You're honestly one of my favorite people to chat to about films, and I just love everything you do. Can you tell people where they can find the countdown?
Well, thank you so much, Billy. And all of that right back at you because, how keen that 2 weeks from now you're going to be on our show?
Yes.
3 episodes from now, talking a topic we haven't decided yet.
I know.
Can't let you know, but we'll work that one out. But can't wait to have you back on, mate. It's always a pleasure.
I'm excited. I think 2018 was the last time I was.
Was it really?
On the show. Yeah, doing the old top 10 movie crimes where I snuck in Jane Silent Bob loitering.
It's great. You won us that episode. I'm so pleased. But no, we need to make this at least an annual event. I think us Aussie indie podcasters got to stick together, and you're one of the absolute best, mate. One of the nicest guys in podcasting. I'm preaching to the converted. You can search for us. Just type in the Countdown Movie and TV Reviews, or check out the website, which is shithouse, but at least it's a website.
No, mate, it's new. It's fancy.
Well, it's not fancy. It's the countdownpodcast.com. So if you've got some website building advice, Billy, we'd love to pick your brains.
I need to try and wrangle Wayne to get on this show at some point.
Yeah, good luck. But look, if you get Wayne involved, it's great. He does so much preparation, and so he's like, "Oh man, I can't do that at our show as well." There's so many women to sleep with.
I know, it's a shame I've already done Basic Instinct on this show. Otherwise, maybe that could be the sell.
Yeah, and you can't probably get us back for Basic Instinct 2. It's a bit of a different story. We'll get him back, I should say. Ooh, what could you get him on for? Jerry Maguire. There you go.
Jerry Maguire. Okay. I quite like Jerry Maguire, so that could be fun.
That could get him over the line.
Well, I'll hit him up. But as I said, thank you so mumuch for joining me. This has just been so much fun to recap the Oscars. Hopefully we didn't get too down in the dumps about, I feel like it's a very bleak episode.
Well, come on. I think we added some life and zest to it, unlike The Power of the Dog. And
that's true.
Much like Will Smith did to the Academy Award ceremony. So, yeah.
That's true. He did add some zest, that's for sure. Well, next week, I will be checking out Arrival as a patron request, one of my favourite movies. And then our good mate Sam from Movie Reviews in 20 Qs will be joining me to talk about Morbius, which I didn't have on the schedule. And then he hit me up and said, we got to do
Understandably.
this. Are you getting to Morbius?
Well, we were meant to see an advanced screen tomorrow night, but we didn't get back in time because we were so dubious about it. Because right now in WA, there is a 50% limitation on cinema seats. We got knocked into the wait. So we'll have to go and pay for like regular people. When we do that, I'll be even more angry when I watch.
I know. Is it worth paying for? Probably not. So that's next week. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle @wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and I'll catch you next week.
See ya!